The clock had just struck midnight when Sylvia's voice sliced through the stillness. "Wake up, wake up! It's an emergency!" she cried, her words trembling with panic. "She's vomiting blood! We have to go to her now!" Yes, welcome back to Doc Wales Diaries. It's a privilege to be with you once again, because today we journey to Mongolia, a land of vast steppes and hidden struggles, where in the spring of 2007, life's interruptions caught me off guard. These weren't mere detours, they were divine appointments that tested my patience, stirred my soul, and unveiled unexpected blessings. The winds whispered change, the horizon stretched wide, and amid it all I found a purpose I hadn't even sought. I will begin with a scripture that anchors this story. Psalm 37:23. The steps of man are directed and established by the Lord, and he blesses his path. This verse is a quiet promise, a reminder that even when our plans falter, there's a hand guiding us forward. In Mongolia, when my heart was set on North Korea, I stumbled into moments of grace, teaching me to seize the day, to trust the journey, and to see the Lord's blessings in the interruptions. It was 2007 and my sights were fixed on North Korea. I'd been invited by Wheat Mission of Los Angeles to join a medical mission there, a chance to follow in the footsteps of Welsh missionary Robert Jermaine Thomas. The subject of my wife Stella's book, Chosen for Choson. My prayer was simple: Lord, let me learn more about this land. But life, as it often does, had other plans. The detour began at a prayer meeting at Harvard University, hosted by our friends Stephen and Rhonda Woodman from Essex, Massachusetts. 50 voices lifted up in charismatic praise, but I lingered in a quiet corner, soul-searching. 3 Asian faces caught my eye, and a young man and 2 women near the front. Something nudged me to approach them. "Are you from China or Japan?" I ventured. "We're Koreans," the young man replied, his eyes brightening. I couldn't contain my excitement. "I'm headed to North Korea soon. I've studied Christianity's history in Korea." He grinned. "Would you stop at my university in China first of all? I'm a professor at Ulaanbaatar University of Science and Technology in Yanji City, China. But now I'm finishing my PhD at MIT. I'll arrange it with President James Kim. You'll get a warm welcome." Days later, an official invite arrived. I'd speak to students, talk about medical work in disasters, a side trip on my way to Pyongyang. But then 2 emails landed, shifting my course yet again. The first was from Sylvia, a patient I'd cared for over 27 years in my practice in Massachusetts. "Dr. Price," she wrote, "you've always taken an interest in my life. Now I'm in my 60s. I've been called to teach in Mongolia. Could you visit me? I've so much to share." The second email came from Northeast China. "Dr. Price, you're my family doctor in the US. I hear you're coming to my university. Could you bring me some Dijon mustard, pancake mix, and chocolate chips?" Sylvia's story tugged at me the hardest. She'd weathered dark nights of the soul, ups and downs. I'd walked through with her, and Dr. Meyer Walters, her counselor, a wise Welsh physician. In 2006, she'd written, "I'm indebted to you both for guiding me out of that pit. Now I've been sent to Mongolia, where despair weaves into daily life." At 58, she'd answered a call to teach in Ulaanbaatar. Her creativity and passion winning hearts. I couldn't say no. It was May 2007 when Sylvia met me at Ulaanbaatar airport, and from the moment my feet touched the ground, I was swept into a whirlwind of purpose. She later captured it in Mongol Messenger. A house call half a way around the world. Dr. Stephen Price, my physician of 27 years, arrived on May the 25th. He's exploring service through his Emmaus ministries, hopefully with local doctors here in Mongolia. Dr. Paul, her medical colleague, he kept me moving. Pediatric clinics, hospital visits, and a Sunday that I'll never forget. We descended into the trenches, the underground tunnels where Mongolia's homeless sought refuge from the brutal winters. Pastor David, once an alcoholic himself, guided us. He lived in those manholes. He knew their shadows, but now spent his days bringing hope to those who lived in darkness. At one manhole, he knocked gently, and a young man emerged. His English was crisp. He had once been a journalist, but when his investigations uncovered government corruption, he was beaten, fired, and left to drink away his pain in the shadows of the city, in the tunnels. Pastor David said he needs medicine, but more than that, he needs hope. I handed over what little I had, funds for medicine, a few words of encouragement, but Pastor David brought something greater, the promise of redemption. Later, at Hope Hospice, I met Nomin, teenager, paralyzed, her spirit nearly broken by a self-inflicted gunshot wound, but Dr. Buck Rusher, a skilled surgeon, battled her leg ulcers, fear in amputation. With the support from the North Shore Christian Men's Choir, we sent an air mattress and a wheelchair. Biamba, her Christian caregiver, led this one young woman to faith. Buck Rushner later wrote to me, "She's a child of a king now. Her body may be frail, but we'll dance in eternity." At Dr. Paul's clinic, I diagnosed a child with Down syndrome, trisomy 21. Her parents anxious about her delays, and I listened and I explained, "She's a special gift from God. She'll bring you joy." Tears fell, then smiles. They thanked me and they left, cradling their daughter's unique light. Sylvia's friends, missionaries, ex-communists like Munda Jalab, welcomed me into their gurs. Warm goat's milk yogurt and a quiet taste. A desert dance with Mandaljab. Feel the joy. Mongolia reclaimed me. But North Korea still beckoned. Monday, May the 28th at 10 p.m., my flight to Beijing was set to depart. Sylvia and family friend Odsakan bid me farewell at the airport. But as I stood in line, the announcement came. Cancelled flight due to a Gobi Desert sandstorm. Frustrated, I returned to Sylvia's apartment, questioning God's plan. Why this delay? I was bound for North Korea. The clock had just struck midnight when Sylvia's voice sliced through the stillness, yanking me from sleep. Wake up, wake up. It's an emergency, she cried, her words trembling with panic. Boggy's relative. She's vomiting blood. We have to go to her now. Her name was Naraa, and when we reached her, she was crumpled and pale. Hematemesis, the medical term echoed in my mind. She was in shock, her breathing shallow, pulse a frantic thud against her fragile wrist. Her blood pressure had plummeted, and her eyes fluttered, barely registering us. An ambulance was a distant hope in that desperate moment, so we scrambled for a taxi instead. Boggy, Sylvia, and I squeezed beside her, the air thick with fear as the engine roared into life. At the hospital, chaos greeted us. No doctor in sight, just the hum of fluorescent lights and the shuffle of overworked nurses. My heart pounded as we begged for help, and finally they nodded when I offered to step in. I set up an IV intravenous saline drip. The needle pierced her vein as I prayed it would. We tilted her limp body, desperate to coax her blood pressure up, every second stretching into eternity. When a physician finally swept in, his face grim, I stepped back, breathless. Naraa was still teetering on the edge, her skin clammy, her pulse a faint thread, but she was fighting, more alive than when we had found her. It was 2 a.m. when we stumbled back into Sylvia's apartment, the weight of the night clinging to us like damp clothes. We collapsed in silence, too drained to speak, until the string shrill ring of the phone shattered the quiet. A call from the airport. Peace in the fragile calm we'd barely grasped. Odsican, bless him, raced me back to the airport. I boarded the flight, realizing the delay had placed me exactly where Naraa needed me. Sylvia emailed bringing heartbreaking news. It was a blessing to have you visit me in Mongolia, Dr. Price. I wanted you to know that Naraa passed away on Saturday. I attended her funeral yesterday. It was the most joyous yet saddest funeral I've ever been to. No one sat in Naraa's seat at church on Sunday. It was very touching. How gracious of the Lord to have delayed your pain so that you could be there for Naraa on the 29th. Landing in Beijing, a taxi took me toward my hotel and trouble. Halfway, the driver veered into darkness, demanding more money. He gripped me. Would I be shanghaied in Beijing? But I scribbled his license number on my palm. Call your supervisor, I said. Pay more, came the reply. No, I'll report you. Beijing hosts the Olympics next year. He relented, drove on. At the hotel, I refused his fee. Call the night manager, I told the clerk. She translated as I said, Today he learns grace. I'll pay double if he shakes my hand and promises me not to fleece visitors. Bewildered, he agreed. Hey, erase my number, he pleaded. He spat on my palm, wiped it clean, and he left, grinning. Grace had won. I slept, met wheat mission partners at breakfast, and headed to North Korea. Hey, but that's my tale for next time. Mongolia taught me Psalm 37:23. The steps of man are ordered by the Lord. I'd craved North Korea, but God led me to Ulaanbaatar's manholes, Nomin's bedside, and Nara's crisis. Interruptions became blessings, threads of grace, woven into a path I hadn't chosen, but one he'd prepared all along. Hey, join me next time on Doc Wales Diaries, because we are going to journey into North Korea, where I share more stories of God's faithfulness. Until then, carpe diem, seize the day. Doc Wales.